This is Melinda James on ABC Illawarra.
I really did have a moment on the way into work this morning thinking that it was New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve of 2019 came flooding back. I remember coming into work that morning, having been on air for an extremely long time the day before, basically talking about emergency warnings that were flashing up all over the place, knowing that there had been devastation in parts of the Shoalhaven, but the details were still unclear. Because, of course, remember, we had no power, no mobile telecommunications. Phone lines were down. Thousands of holidaymakers were stranded. The highway was closed. Lots of smaller roads off into our coastal villages and hamlets to the east of the highway also closed. The sky was red, the air thick with smoke, and I remember, I mentioned a little earlier this morning, Lynn from Milton calling up from the Milton phone box because that was the only way anyone could get through. Finally, we did get a little bit of mobile reception, and it became clear that people in parts of our region had lived through a nightmare on this day last year. Someone who's become a great friend of ABC Illawarra and someone for whom we've spoken to a few times as this year's moved on is Greg Webb from Lake Conjola, who lost his home after battling the blaze himself, suffering burns himself. And we thought we'd chat with Greg, whose attitude has always astounded me. Greg, good morning.
Good morning, Mel.
How are you?
Not bad, mate. What a different morning it is to this time in 3 hours, 12 months ago.
Oh, what's it like there at the lake this morning? Lovely, grey, drizzly, is it? Nice?
Mate, it's beautiful.
Oh,
it's beautiful. Albeit the poor old girl, she's very scarred around the edges, and it'll take quite a few years for her to come back to her magnificent self, but it's still a beautiful part of the world, and I'm very blessed and lucky to be able to live here.
It is an absolutely gorgeous part of the world. Greg, how did you feel as this day was approaching? Sometimes we don't have much control over how these anniversaries affect us. Is it something that you were preparing for? Is it something you felt was looming?
Well, it's been a weird last 24, 48 hours. You know, people have been talking about it. Everyone's on tender hooks. I noticed a couple of articles, people talking about people letting off illegal fireworks, you know, and saying it's probably not a good way of, all the trigger-happy people that are around and with regards to emotions. But, no, it's been a very strange period coming up to it and talking to people. And it really hits home what happened to us and what so many of us went through last year. And we're permanently changed by it, you know, and it's quite interesting to watch yourself internalise over it. And it is for me anyway, but it's all an education. It's all a growing process I've got to move with, and so many people go through trauma and react to it in so many different ways. We've got to be very careful of that, and we've got to watch out and look out for people, and as I do myself and Mrs. Webby. So all good, Mel. All good, I think.
I think, well, that's the thing. You do have to keep checking in, don't you, on yourself to make sure you're okay. It sounds like that's something you've been really good at throughout the year, Greg. I'm sure there have been the hard times, but it sounds like it's something you've done really well, is just checking in constantly on yourself.
Yeah, I have. And I went through about 2 months ago, I had some real anxiety attacks hit me. I never had anxiety attacks in my life. And I sought some counselling, and it was from the Shoalhaven Bushfire Recovery Mental Health unit, and they were fantastic. And it was something I with their assistance and a couple of calls and a couple of personal meetings, and I really urge people, if you're struggling with this, reach out for it, because it's really quite a wonderful thing to do, and to help you get through this, because unbeknownst to yourself, you will suffer from trauma. Anyone who been through what we all went through last year, there's trauma there. So no, it was amazing, and a great experience to look at myself in a totally different light, and I learned from it. It was terrific, Mel. Excellent.
Good advice, Greg. Look, I'm a year on now. Are you kind of where you'd hoped you'd be at? Have things worked out as you had hoped, or have you kind of thrown expectations out the window?
Mel, when we spoke outside the IGA at Milton, I was all gung-ho, and I've got tons of experience in the building industry. I've been tied up with it for many, many years. And I had all these visions of racing ahead, and as soon as it was going to be cleared, I was going to get this done and that done, and like I do with everything in life. But it's been quite a process. It's been an amazing education for me. Our bell rating, as a lot of people have learnt to understand, is flame zone, and I'm on a very steep block of ground. Beautiful block of ground within 20 metres of the Conjola National Park, and the house that I designed, I remember saying to someone 3 months while we were waiting for it to all get cleared, which is just a massive process. You know, there were thousands of homes in the state, and that state government take that on was fantastic. And but I remember sitting there for 3 months looking at my house, and the only thing didn't burn was the steel and concrete. Everything else burned. So I've decided to build a steel and aerated concrete house, and being flame zone, there's a whole heap of new materials, there's a whole heap of new education, and the anxiety attacks because I was pushing myself to get this thing built. I saw people building houses. I saw people knocking up these timber-framed houses again, and I said to myself, I'm not really comfortable with that. So I've held up, and I've slowed up, and I'm only going to do this once and do it properly. Yeah. And I'm taken on designing, and we're going to start construction in January now, and I'm very relaxed about it, and very excited about it. And we're going to have a beautiful little home that I believe won't burn down next time it comes through, because I reckon it will come through. And I think, you know, people have said to me, oh, it's terrible you got flame zone. I'm glad I'm flame zone. What I went through, I never want to go through it again. So, no, I'm happy with that. Yep. It cost me close to $200,000 more than I received insurance-wise. But,
Greg, that's such a common story. I wish you all the very best in your rebuild, and I can't wait to come down and say good day when you're a little further down the path. Greg, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you talking to us again and again during such tough times. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. I look forward to doing an OB on our new site. We can organise that. It'd be fantastic.
Thanks, Greg.